Greetings, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I am the Moon Mama, Monique. Welcome to our marketing for our new cycle. This month, we're going to be focusing on the new moon in Libra and the full moon in Taurus. Does your relationship need an exorcism? Restoring your relationship, power and presence. So just for one moment, let's just take a deep breath to bring ourselves to center and give thanks for an opportunity to cycle with the moon yet one more time, another month, to integrate and realign ourselves to the natural cycles of the universe and how it gives us everything that we need to create our lives and our reality. Like I said, I am Monique Ruffin, and I am here today with the co-facilitators of this program, my sisters, and we do this work together, and I love you so much. So if you would just introduce yourself, that would be great.
I'm Christine Galvarjani.
And I'm Cheryl Bourget.
So together we are the three goddesses of the moon, and we facilitate 13 Moons initiation. We do this once a month. And we are kicking off the next cycle. Like I said, does your relationship need an exorcism? Restoring your relationship to power and presence. And I think many of us understand that right now as we are moving through the world in this new way. So Christine, come in and help us.
All right. Yeah, let me, all right, so let's just talk about what we're going to cover. Does your relationship need an exorcism? You know, I want to point out that the full moon in this next cycle is going to be on Halloween. So we thought we'd bring in some of the languaging of that into this. But really, we're also talking about how to restore power and presence to relationships. So, being able to see what is not working or where things need to shift is important. What we're going to cover is what is the opportunity in relationship dysfunction. We're going to talk about the Libra and Taurus moon cycle and just kind of preview what the themes are for that. We are going to talk about 3 of the relationship ghosts that you need to exercise. And we're going to talk about just a little overview of the moon cycle and how we work with that, and also an invitation of how you can go deeper if you want to join us in our group. All right, so what is the opportunity of relationship dysfunction? I think it's easy to feel like you're doing something wrong if relationships aren't working, but things being imbalanced and you seeing where there's an imbalance is an extremely powerful invitation, because relationships help us see ourselves. We need the other to reflect back to us who we are. And I always like to tell the story, like when you look in the mirror and you see something on your face, like you have a smudge on your face, you don't reach over to the mirror to try to rub it off. You reach right here to rub it off. And so a lot of times just that dynamic of what happens in relationship, we think it's the other who needs to change. But it's an opportunity to shift ourselves. That's the only way that we see change externally anyway. And so that power is ours. So even though it can feel uncomfortable when relationship issues come up, relationship conflict, the things that aren't working, they are opportunities. They're opportunities to reclaim your power and to shift it. And you have the power to shift it. And so that's why we wanted to talk about relationship. Couple reasons. This next cycle, both the new moon and the full moon are in signs that are ruled by Venus, which is the sign that deals with relationship and our value system. And so so relationship is going to be stirred up in this next cycle, and we wanted to give an opportunity. Did you have anything else to say about the opportunity of relationship dysfunction, ladies?
Well, I feel like relationship is the place where we get to really learn and grow. There is something that happens in that the chemistry with others, whether it be a romantic relationship or a parent and child relationship. People come in my life, and my life always has to shift because of the nature of someone else being there. I get to see myself more. I get to see my limitations. I get to see my growth opportunities. Because when I'm alone, which I love being, there's nothing to bump up against. So
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. I even think that attraction and who we're drawn to, like not even a romantic relationship, even just the
Mhm.
people that we're drawn to have something for us. You know, like on a soul level, we're calling that person in. And it might bring things up. It might stir things up. It might not always be pleasant, but I know that if I'm drawn to somebody, there's something there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing that I realize is, like what you said, Christine, we're always drawn to somebody for a reason, whether we perceive it as comfortable or not comfortable. And it polishes my stone. And the beautiful thing about relationship for me is it's a gateway to self-love.
Mm.
It's a gateway to fully continue to align myself in that space of sacred care. And once you're in that space, you can really recognize the importance of caring then for that thing, that being in front of you. It's such a beautiful shift that takes place in the self-love, in the capacity to fully embrace ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at some of those relationship ghosts. Before we do that, we're going to just talk about briefly the Libra Taurus cycle and a little bit of an overview of what the work, like what the tension is in this cycle and what we're going to be working on in this next moon cycle. So with Libra and Taurus, Libra is all about balance and harmony and relationship, and Taurus is all about like our sense of self-worth and how grounded we are and how we experience life through our senses. And what I almost liken like Taurus energy to like that the developmental phase when you're a toddler, you know, where you just like you have your hands in the dirt and you need to see
Mm-hmm.
and taste and touch and experience everything through your
Mm-hmm.
senses, and you're really learning. And you know, and toddlers are confident. They don't care what you think
Yeah.
about them. They're like, I am who I am, and I am creating pleasure and having experiences that I want to have. And like, and it is, you know, it is a very grounded sense of self a lot of time.
Yeah. And it's tactile.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I love about being around children and that sort of Taurus energy is that they see everything because
Yeah.
everything is new. So they have not started missing things yet and that's that Taurus energy. It's like coming back to the space where we recognize that we are turned on to everything. We're connected to everything. And when you have children or pets or things that really pay attention, you get to ignite that in yourself again. So this cycle, we get to ignite that. We get to bring ourselves back to that energy and renew it, because that is where the sun and the moon will be. So that energy is coming alive in us again this month.
Yeah, and the way that the cycle works together is that, you know, we kind of look at these two poles that happen. The work that we do during the new moon is really more releasing, you know, like what is it that needs to move? What is out of balance? What is not functioning well and needs to be released? And during the full moon, we're really anchoring in the new. So during this cycle, Libra is what we're balancing, is what we're releasing. And so any of the ways where Libra is dysfunctional or that Libra energy is dysfunctional, which it can be relationship stuff, that's what we're going to look at clearing out. And we're going to look at anchoring in the Taurus energy. And
Yes.
so, you know, so the question really this cycle is, how do I release the ways I'm out of balance and integrate a stable sense of myself in the here and now? And so what we're going to look at in this call is three of the ways in which we can be out of balance, and what we're, you know, what's going to be really ripe for releasing in this next cycle.
Appearance, right? It's so just even saying it, you know, the Libra energy, I'm so aware of that need to have things look a certain way. Libra loves beauty and balance and harmony, and oftentimes will sacrifice the real internal strength and power for the outer external appearances. You know, it's like, I know when I was growing up, oh gosh, this is so fascinating. I had a grandmother who was really depressed, and our house was full of clutter. And so I couldn't bring friends home. I couldn't bring anyone home, but I had to hold up the appearances outside of the home. I could never let on to the fact that my grandmother was depressed, that there were all sorts of things going on in my household that were shadowy and unusual and painful. And so I learned how to mask myself. I learned how to laugh. I learned how to smile. I learned how to hit my cues. I learned how to be smart at school. I learned how to do all the things to cover up that the internal life that was really happening in my household. And so that's that Libra appearance energy. And so, you know, when we are in this experience of how things look or being attached to how things look, the question becomes, well, how do they feel? And so, you know, when I was a child, I could pretend, but inside I was deeply depressed, like my grandmother, because she was a Capricorn and she was creating all this deep energy, right? So everybody in the household was actually depressed. Everyone was dealing with the need to be accepted in the outer world, but really was struggling with self-acceptance in a profound way. Everyone in my family had fear of changes or things being seen. Like, you know, we all had to hold the status quo, so everyone was complying unconsciously, subconsciously with these behaviors, and not able to see ourselves as capable of being true and being loved for who we really were and what was really going on. And then that created in me a jealousy for people who seem to really be congruent, who seem to have families where they could be themselves, or where, you know, their mothers or grandmothers seem normal. And, you know, so that created a lot of despair inside of me. And I couldn't really access my own true desires. And so the appearance thing is a really, it's a shadow of Libra, or it can be, when it's not done well, when it's not congruent with how we actually feel, is what I'll say. So if your feelings are not in alignment with what's going on the inside, then you know that you're in the shadow of Libra.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Oh, the shadow of avoidance. And we had to decide what we were going to speak to. This just made me uncomfortable, which told me that it's my thing. So I had this shadow. And for me, you know, I grew up in an environment where avoiding any perceived experience that was going to be uncomfortable, because it could become violent. And I learned that to avoid any uncomfortable things was my only way to have safety and security. So I would give up any sense of safety and security just to keep harmony. I would even put myself in harm's way just to create harmony in my family environment. I would go against what was true to my energy. I even told myself that having conflict made me a bad person, that I needed to be a good person. And if I wouldn't be a good person if I was entering into conversations of conflict where I was standing up for something that was important to me, and that it to me felt like I was diminishing somebody else. So in order to be loved and to be safe, I would avoid any just wrestling or rustling anybody's feathers or tipping the apple cart upside down, because it was really, I wanted to belong. So I avoided the most uncomfortable experiences, mostly being an advocate for myself or things that were important to me. I would give up values and things just so that I could step in. I also became a chameleon in such a way that I would people please. And as being a chameleon, I would extend myself out and just really check in and see where I was or where other people were so that I could determine ahead of time what was going to be necessary to keep harmony in the home or keep harmony in the workplace or keep harmony in the community. I was willing to put myself in a compromised position with myself, with my value systems, with my safety, just so that I could keep the hot spots around me cool. But I did it to the degree where I compromised myself so much that I became unwell. And then I started to seek alignment with myself first. That meant that I learned how to come into deep connection with who I am as source energy. Avoidance of conflict was one of my catalysts just to get on this path of spirituality because it was killing me to compromise myself so much. When I learned to bring my higher self into perspective in this avoidance conversation, I then understood that compromise and compassion were two different things, because I would actually tell myself this story of me being kind or me people pleasing. I was doing it for the other person. It was how I was going to be compassionate in a very difficult situation. It was me saying, well, that person just can't help themselves, so I'm going to go that way just to keep peace. And then I learned that compassion, the true essence of compassion, is inclusive of me and the situation. And so I learned tools like following the moon to help me understand the nuance of compromise and compassion so that I could become fully integrated. When I was able to be in that space, then I would seek myself to find my own pleasures, to connect to my own love, because I started to give myself permission to not avoid that, but to really come into harmony with those spaces that were true and in integrity with who I was, versus who I was becoming, trying to get an environment to sort of yield to me needing to belong and be safe, or my projection that I needed to make them belong and feel safe. So yeah, there's a big turnaround there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good work. Good breaking that down. Thank you.
Mm,
I
yeah.
feel like the compromise one was huge for me too. It's like, you know, just making a change to keep the peace, or, you know, feeling like I have to give up part of what's important to me in order to have harmony. Like, that was a tough one for me to learn, and really to see where like that isn't compassionate to either party, and that what is more important in a relationship is, can we both be who we are and still find solutions that work? You know, like, can we move through something? But like, compromise almost feels like a giving up, you know, like a giving up of part of yourself. And like that's been a huge shift for me too, of really learning how to not compromise, but have compassion for different perspectives, and know that there are always solutions possible that affirm both people in a situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the third ghost is aloneness. And, you know, one of the things with Libra energy is it doesn't like to be alone. You know, like Libra, like, if you know people with Libra suns, like they always like to have something going on around them, and it's difficult for them to be alone. And sometimes what needs to be brought into balance, because there's nothing like that can be a completely in alignment thing, you know, like wanting to be social, and like we are social beings. But when it's like it feels like it has to happen, or you're afraid to be alone, like that's where it can be out of balance. And what you're really needing to anchor in that point is, you know, kind of releasing the fear around it. Like, some people are terrified to not be in a relationship or need to find another relationship before they can leave a relationship. And in that case, it's like being able to slow down and be with yourself and actually like have your inner experience, and not always need to be anchoring things in an outer experience, can be really helpful. The other thing that happens is either, like, I feel like it happens on kind of an extreme. Like, either you're defining yourself in relationship to others, like you don't know who you are without the other. Or you, like, you know, a lot of times, like, this kind of goes back to the image stuff too. Like, you value people for how they make you look, or how you look being part of a relationship with that person. Um, and the other extreme is the inability to really feel yourself when you're around other people. Like, this one for me is really present. Like, I feel like, you know, if you see things all the time about like being an empath. I think really, like, we all have the ability to have empathy. Like, that's a universal thing. But this whole idea of being an empath, I think it's usually a trauma response. You know, usually the people that identify with that and have learned to be overly empathic and feel what other people feel, usually it's come out of trauma because you had to develop some sort of hypervigilance, you know, in maybe you grew up in a situation where it could be dangerous, or the people around you could be harmful. So it's almost like you develop this additional radar where it extends outside of yourself so that you can be constantly taking the temperature in the room and know if something's about to happen and plan for it. I completely had that experience. Like, I learned how to do that because I had people who were violent in my home. And so I had to be aware of like when something was going to happen to keep myself safe. Well, what that also created in me was this inability to actually just feel completely grounded and safe within myself when other people are around, because now I'm always picking up everybody else's stuff like a sponge. And so then I feel like the only time that I can shake that off is when I'm alone. You know, like, I have to go be by myself just to like know who I am. Both of those things, like defining ourselves by other people and that inability to like just be solid within yourself around other people, they're part of the same spectrum. And the antidote to this, like what really has to be anchored in, is like being able to completely be at home within yourself, and being able to you know, to not always have to take in everybody else's energy when you're around them. You know, like I can be with people and still stay within my own energy and not take all of this other stuff on that I don't know who I am anymore. So anchoring pleasure in internally, not externally. Um, and then codependency is another issue that falls under this realm as well. You know, like when we set up these relationships where we need something from the other person, and our, you know, our issues and our baggage, like they're tied together. Like a lot of times, like when you've trauma bonded with somebody else, like there's codependency is at play. Where like you can look at the other person as having the issue, but you hold it in place as well. You know, like we create these really interesting interdependent relationships. And really, and the antidote to that is a sense of healthy interdependence. It's okay that we need other people. It's okay to have a healthy sense of, you know, it's how we create social units and community. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But we do it from this place where we first are anchoring within ourselves. And you can look at nature as an example. And I think with the Taurus energy, it's a perfect way to kind of anchor in this idea. Like you can look around to you, like everything in nature works together, but has its own property. And they work symbiotically, like within a system, but nothing is sacrificed to anything else. And so that can be a helpful way to really understand like systems and cycles. The moon being one of them, you know, the moon waxing and waning, and like what we followed in this group and how we work with the energy. Like the moon as a system can really help you anchor in with natural cycles. All right.
So we take you through this process. The cycle of the moon has 8 phases. And so we're going to use the phases of the moon to help restore balance and restore our relationships with ourselves. And in turn, that gets reflected into the experiences that we're having outside of ourselves. So through the phases, we'll cultivate power and presence. And we're going to ask you to identify 2 short-term goals. What is it, right? What is it that you're going to want to focus on within these dynamics over the next cycle? And we're going to align it through the framework of how the phases go. Each phase holds a certain perspective that we get to, helps us to look into our psyche to see what we have to shift within ourselves. What ghosts are we going to bust in ourselves that we're then going to receive that power, and then by the close of the cycle we're going to be able to bring it into full full-blown manifestation within ourselves, and then in the relatedness to the people outside of ourselves. So this is a tool for transformation. It's going to support you to learn how to shift your own consciousness on this particular subject, which is so yummy.
What I love about moon cycles, like when I started doing this work, I felt overwhelmed at keeping up because moon cycles can move really fast. But eventually what happens is you internalize it, where it's no longer like you feel like it's this thing happening outside of you. Like you can just feel the shifts and you know exactly how to use that energy or what the best things are to do during the particular phases of the moon. And like that was so powerful for me. Like I can feel it now. I don't even have to like really even look where the moon is. Like I can feel what phase we're in.
Yeah, a bonus in that one is to, a lot of people have this conversation about what's everybody talking about with masculine and feminine energy, because it's a real conversation now. It's more common. And when you follow the moon phases, you're going to naturally begin to understand how to create a really nice working relationship between your own masculine and feminine energies, because we all, whether you're embodied feminine or male, you've got both active inside your consciousness, and the moon does a beautiful job of showing you how you're going to have harmony in that relationship inside of yourself, which, trust me, I know for me, I needed an exorcism just in that dynamic, my own masculine and feminine. So that's like a bonus.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Like the relationship that we get to really harmonize is the one inside of ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You know, that does more to harmonize any other relationship as well.
It really does. We need to talk about that more often.
For sure.
So we are going to be inviting you to a deeper integration with your body and mind, a guidance through the moon phases, the practices, rituals, meditations to support you in choosing goals. But really what I would say that it is, this work gives you the opportunity to know yourself. It's one of the things that I appreciate the most about this work, that it really helps me know myself. So all these things that we just talked about, your relationships, and I heard both of you and myself talk about our childhoods and how those experiences made us who we are. And then how we can look at those experiences to then remake ourselves. One of the things that's very significant about what's going on the planet right now, astrologically, is Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Capricorn. So all of our structures are coming undone no matter what. Everything, yes. Everything is being restructured. Everything is being restructured. So the way we relate to ourselves, the way we relate to the environment, all of that is being restructured. And so we're inviting you to come with us to begin to look at your own life in a different way, because the universe is already doing that. The universe is saying, here's some new materials, because we're going to be going off to these new degrees. We're going to be in these new frequencies. We're going to be in these new ways of relating to the whole environment. So you are a part of that. We are a part of that. So this work allows you to look at that. And this month, we're going to be talking about the Venus energy, which is about how we restore ourselves through our relationship to the environment, one another, food, our senses, all of that. So we invite you to come. The sorry, Christine, what you will get is you will get
So
a,
yeah, just to touch on, the next cycle starts on October 9th. So
yes.
that's when you'd want to make sure you join before that date if you want to kind of start right on cue and feel lined up with the cycle. And each cycle, we encourage you to pick 2 objectives that you're going to manifest during, that short period of 28 days. And then once you choose those goals, we take you through the moon cycle to manifest those goals. And we like to talk about the themes because a lot of times it informs what type of goals that you have. Like relationship stuff is going to be really big during this next cycle. So it would be really great to set a relationship goal, whether that's the relationship with yourself or, some of your external relationships. That's going to be the stuff that's really stirring, and that's where you'll get the most kind of bang out of it. And also what you'll find is that the other people in the room, like a lot of times collectively, we're all going to be working on similar things. So you have that support of the other people. And then let me have Moni talk about just the structure and what's all included.
So when you join the community, you will get we have a private Facebook group where we're all together doing this work on a daily basis. Christine, myself, and Cheryl are there introducing each of the phases and the cycles and helping you really stay present because like Christine said, the moon phases move quickly. The moon does in 28 days what the sun does in 365 days. So that's what we're actually assisting you and ourselves in doing. So we have daily guidance with videos. Cheryl offers elemental rituals that allow us to embody the elements: fire, water, air, earth. This month we're going to be working with air, Libra, Taurus, earth. So that's a unique ways to come into this understanding of your own life in relationship to the phase, like through the elements. You'll have access to my 3 of us. We have a library because we've been doing this work for years. So we have a library with countless videos to help you understand the phases, the energies, the deities, and the practices, which include crystals and meditations and things like that to help you stay focused. We have accountability exercises. Christine leads a monthly astrological call, and we offer emails and different things just to help you stay focused. And all of this for the really small price of $97 a month, but the first month is $47. So it is a subscription. It's very important that people understand that this is a subscription. So when you enroll, it will charge you again on the same day, 30 days later, for your next subscription. You can come and go as you please. We encourage you to stay the whole year because every month we are working through a different aspect of the zodiac within your own life so you can renew those energies. And so we encourage you to stay. But if staying does not suit you, you're more than welcome to go. But it is a subscription. So with that, the code for this month to register is 13 Moons Libra Taurus. And the bit.ly link is bit.ly/13 moons.
And so if you are joining us this coming month, this is the beginning of a new cycle. So we go through, 13 moons. There's 13 moons in a year, and we are just wrapping up the 13th moon from this last year's cycle, and this is our new year. So you will be joining the first cycle, and I do encourage staying with it for a year too. If it works for you, because it takes you through all of the signs and all of the themes, and the feel is different. We may be going through the same moon cycle every month, but it's not the same moon cycle every month because the astrology is different and the signs are different. And, we're going to be approaching these same things, but from a different energy. And so it's really useful to get that full perspective of being with it for a year.
I agree.
Okay. So yeah, we would love to have you join us, and you can, the links are here. And if you if you join before the 9th, you will not miss any part of the cycle, and you'll have a chance to kind of get started and see. And if you join soon, you'll see the last cycle wrap up and just kind of be able to make that transition smoothly.
Yeah. So with that, thank you, Cheryl, thank you, Christine. I'm always so moved by these marketing calls because they help us really call in the energy for the next month, and it's priceless. So thank you so much, and we're excited to see all of you in the community. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.